Welcome to the Thinking Abyss podcast, a philosophical journey through consciousness, reality, and the phenomena that challenge our understanding of existence. From ancient wisdom to cutting-edge theories, we explore where philosophy meets science and curiosity leads to the edge of the unknown.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are not just scratching the surface. We are popping the hood on reality itself.
Yeah.
We're tackling a question that has kept philosophers, physicists, and I'm sure probably a few listeners awake at 3 in the morning.
Oh, definitely.
It's the kind of topic that makes you look at your hand, wiggle your fingers, and just ask, did I just do that? Or was that inevitable?
It is the ultimate question, isn't it? It sits right at that really uncomfortable intersection of high-level physics and your daily life.
Right.
It asks, are you actually in control, or are you just a very sophisticated passenger in a vehicle that's been on autopilot since the beginning of time?
Exactly. And to get us started, I want to take us back in time. We're set in the scene. It's 1814. We're in France.
Okay.
The Napoleonic Wars are winding down. The world is in flux. And we're hanging out with this brilliant mathematician named Pierre-Simon Laplace. And Laplace proposes a thought experiment that is, well, frankly, it's terrifying.
It is. It's the concept of Laplace's demon. And I love that he originally used the word intelligence, but history has sort of branded it a demon.
Yeah, for good reason.
Because of how deeply unsettling the implications are, yeah.
Laplace's demon. Now, for everyone listening, I really want you to visualize this. Imagine an intelligence, call it a demon, an alien, a supercomputer, whatever helps you sleep at night.
Right.
This intelligence is vast. It knows the precise position and the precise moment. So the speed and direction of every single piece of matter in the universe.
Every single one.
Every atom, every electron, every photon, right now, at this exact instant.
And crucially, this intelligence also knows all the forces acting on those particles. It understands the laws of physics perfectly. It has the ultimate data set and the ultimate processing power.
Let's all know it.
It knows exactly how gravity is pulling on a star in Andromeda, and it knows exactly how the electrical impulses are firing in your brain as you listen to this. It's total information.
So here's the kicker. Laplace argued that if this demon has all that data, and if the universe follows these strict, unbreakable laws like billiard balls hitting each other, then this demon could perfectly predict the entire future.
The entire future.
It could see every sunset a billion years from now. It could see every war before it starts. It could see the exact moment you, the listener, decided to hit play on this audio.
And that just creates this very strange relationship with time, doesn't it? For an entity like that, time wouldn't really exist as a mystery. The past, the present, the future, they would all be visible at once, just derived from the current state of things.
So the future isn't a maybe.
No, it's a definitely. It's as fixed as the past.
Which brings us right to the central question of our deep dive today. Is the script of our lives already written? Are we just, playing out a recording that was pressed at the Big Bang? Or is the future genuinely open? Is there actual real magic in the universe that allows for surprise?
It's the battle between the clockwork and the chaos. And the stakes just couldn't be higher. This isn't just about atoms. It's about what it means to be human.
Let's unpack those stakes before we get into the heavy physics. Why does this matter to someone who's just trying to decide what to have for lunch? Why should they care about some 19th century French mathematician when they're staring at a menu?
Well, think about that decision. What should I have for lunch? You feel like you're making a choice.
I do.
You weigh the options, salad versus sandwich. You remember you had a heavy dinner last night, so maybe you lean toward the salad. But then the sandwich looks really good. You feel a sense of agency. You feel like the you behind your eyes is pulling the levers.
Exactly. I feel like I could pick the salad or I could pick the sandwich. It is up to me.
But if the universe is deterministic, if it's that clockwork model that Laplace described, then that feeling of choice, it's an illusion.
Just a feeling.
It is a persistent, very convincing hallucination. The configuration of atoms in your brain reacting to the atoms in your environment determined that you would pick the sandwich billions of years ago.
So the Big Bang happened, particles flew out, they bumped into each other for 13.8 billion years, and that long chain reaction inevitably leads to me ordering the BLT today.
Precisely. You didn't choose it any more than a rock chooses to fall when you drop it.
Wow.
It's just physics doing physics, You are just the place where the physics is happening.
That's heavy. It kind of strips away the protagonist energy we all feel about our own lives. It turns us into spectators.
And it gets heavier. If there's no real choice, what happens to moral responsibility?
Oh, right.
If a criminal commits a crime and that crime was literally written into the initial conditions of the Big Bang, can we really blame them?
Right. You don't blame a toaster for burning your toast. You don't put the toaster on trial. It's just doing what it was built to do. It's a faulty machine.
Exactly. And that challenges the entire foundation of our legal system, our religious concepts of sin and virtue, our personal relationships. How can I be proud of my achievements if I was destined to achieve them?
And how can I be angry at you for hurting me if you couldn't have done otherwise?
You can't. Not really.
Yeah.
But here is the twist, and this is what we're going to get into today. On the flip side, if the universe isn't a clockwork mechanism, if it's fundamentally random, does that actually help us?
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
That's the critical nuance. If your choices are just the result of a random dice roll in your brain, a little spark of chaos, is that freedom?
If I just do things because some subatomic particle decided to flip a coin, that doesn't feel like free will either. That feels like a glitch.
Right.
That feels like I have Tourette's of the soul or something. It's not me.
Precisely. So we're stuck between being robots or being roulette wheels. That's the dilemma we are going to explore today. We want to be the authors of our own stories, but physics just keeps trying to take the pen away from us.
Okay, so the plan is to drag the listener through the mud of physics history to see if we can get that pen back. We're going to start with the clockwork universe of Isaac Newton. Then we're going to watch it get smashed to pieces by quantum mechanics.
Then see it get weirdly resurrected by Einstein.
And then somehow end up in the multiverse. It's a lot.
It's quite a ride. We're going from absolute order to absolute chaos and then back again.
Okay, buckle up. Let's start with that classic view, the world that Laplace lived in, the case for the clockwork universe.
Right. So this is the world of classical mechanics. This is the physics that dominated from the late 1600s all the way to the early 20th century. We're talking Newton, Euler, Lagrange, the Titans.
The giants.
The giants. And before this era, the world was seen as, full of spirits and unpredictable whims of the gods. Newton changed all of that.
And the vibe here is very machine.
Yes. The universe was viewed essentially as a giant, sophisticated clock. God was often described as the clockmaker. He built the gears, he wound the spring, and then he just stepped back.
And if you look at a clock...
Exactly. If you look at a clock and you know how the gears mesh and you know how much tension is on the spring, you know exactly where the hands will be in an hour. There's no mystery.
And this makes sense intuitively, right? The source material brings up the billiard ball analogy, which I love because it's so tangible.
Oh, absolutely.
We've all played pool or at least watched it badly. You're at a table, you hit the cue ball, it hits the 8-ball, the 8-ball moves.
Right. Break that down and what's happening there.
The 8-ball didn't decide to move. It didn't have a debate with itself. It didn't think, I'm feeling lazy today, I think I'll stay here.
Yeah.
The force of the cue ball, the angle of impact, the friction of the felt, the air resistance, it all combined to force that outcome.
Yeah.
It was inevitable.
That is the essence of causal determinism. Every event has a cause, and that cause fully determines the effect. Nothing happens without a reason.
Right. If you see a ball move, you know something pushed it.
You don't assume it just decided to go for a walk. And classical mechanics basically said, atoms are just tiny billiard balls. Therefore, everything made of atoms, stars, planets, you, me, are just big collections of billiard balls bouncing off each other.
And this view is incredibly comforting, isn't it? We like to think that things happen for a reason.
It is deeply comforting. It's rational. It suggests that the universe makes sense. If determinism is true, then the universe is maximally intelligible. It means that with enough smarts, we can understand everything.
There are no dark corners where logic doesn't apply.
Right. It eliminates the arbitrary. It gets rid of the spooky stuff.
And for a scientist, that's everything.
Precisely. If things just happened randomly for no reason, that would be terrifying to a scientist. It would mean the universe is fundamentally irrational or inexplicable. Science relies on the idea that if we do an experiment today and the conditions are the same, we'll get the same result tomorrow. Determinism guarantees that stability.
The sources mention that this wasn't just a science thing either. Philosophers were all over this way before Newton.
Oh, absolutely. The Stoics, Spinoza, they argued that everything flows necessarily from what came before. Baruch Spinoza, in particular, had this beautiful, if somewhat stark, view.
What was his take?
He thought that freedom was an illusion born of ignorance. He said, we think we are free because we are conscious of our desires, but we're ignorant of the causes that determine those desires.
So I know that I want the sandwich, but I don't know the million little biological and environmental triggers that made me want the sandwich in the first place.
Exactly. To Spinoza, true freedom was understanding that chain of causes. It was about accepting the inevitable flow of nature. So for him, freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's acknowledging the strings and aligning yourself with them.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. Even back in the 1800s, surely people saw things that looked random. You know, smoke rising from a pipe, gas spreading out in a room, dice rolling at a casino. It's not like they lived in a Lego set where everything was rigid and grid-like.
They did see chaos, yes. But here is the crucial distinction the source material makes, and we need to nail this down because it frames the rest of our discussion. They viewed that as epistemic randomness, not ontological randomness.
Okay, let's unpack those terms. That sounds like jargon, but it feels really important.
Yeah.
Epistemic versus ontological.
It's very important. Epistemic comes from epistemology, which is the study of knowledge. It relates to what we know. So if I flip a coin, I say it's random, whether it lands heads or tails. But is it really random?
Well, no. Not really. If I knew exactly how hard I flicked it, the air resistance, the weight distribution, the exact bounciness of the table, I could predict it.
Exactly. If you were Laplace's demon, you'd know the result before it even landed. So the randomness is just a reflection of your ignorance. It's not in the coin. It's in your head. You just lack the data.
The coin is following strict laws of physics. You just can't calculate them fast enough.
Exactly. So epistemic randomness is just another way of saying, I don't know enough yet. And classical physics assumed that all randomness was like that. Even with the second law of thermodynamics entropy increasing, gas molecules bouncing around like crazy, they assumed if you could track every single molecule, it would still just be a game of billiards.
Just a really, really complicated game of billiards.
A very complicated game. There was no true randomness in the universe, just a lack of information.
So the universe was a machine. It was orderly. It was predictable. It was safe. And then the 20th century happened.
And the machine broke.
Let's move to segment 2, the quantum wrench in the gears. This is where the story takes a hard left turn into the weird.
It starts in the early 1900s. Physicists are probing deeper than ever before. They're looking at atoms, electrons, photons, the building blocks of reality, and they expected to find tiny billiard balls.
They expected Newton's laws to just keep working.
They expected the laws of Newton to hold up at the microscale, but they didn't.
No.
The data just stopped fitting the clockwork model.
The source mentions the quantum revolution, and the big headline here is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Now, usually when people hear this, they think, oh, our rulers just aren't precise enough, or we're too clumsy with our measurements.
Right. That's the common misconception. People think if we just had better microscopes, or if we didn't disturb the particle when we looked at it, we could see what's really going on. It feels like a limitation of human technology.
But that's not it at all.
Not at all.
Oh.
Werner Heisenberg was saying something much, much more radical.
The formula itself is simple enough. You can't measure position and momentum at the same time with perfect accuracy. But what does that mean for reality?
It means that a particle like an electron does not have a definite position and a definite momentum simultaneously.
It's not that we can't see them.
It's not that it has them and we can't see them. It is that nature has not defined them.
That is the mind-bending part. It's like saying, I have a car in my garage, and I ask, what color is it and how fast is it going? And you say, well, if I check the color, it stops having a speed. And if I check the speed, it stops having a color.
Basically, yes. Or even weirder. Until you look, it doesn't have a specific color or a specific speed. It's just a blur. It's a cloud of possibility.
And this is ontological uncertainty.
Exactly. Ontological meaning about the nature of being. The uncertainty is built into the nature of the object itself. The electron is a fuzzy cloud of probability, not a tiny billiard ball.
And the sources bring up what I think is the real smoking gun for this.
Yeah.
Radioactive decay. This is the part that really convinced me that the clockwork model was dead.
Radioactive decay is fascinating because it seems to be a truly uncaused event.
Okay, walk us through that. Because we use this for carbon dating, we rely on it for nuclear power. We act like we understand it.
We understand the statistics of it, the crowd behavior. So take a uranium atom. It's unstable. It's wobbling. Eventually, it will decay. It will spit out a particle and change into something else.
And we can predict the half-life.
We can. We know that in a group of 1 billion uranium atoms, 50% will decay in, say, 700 million years.
So statistically, we are safe. We can build nuclear power plants because we know how the crowd behaves.
Statistically, yes. But pick one atom, just stare at it, isolated in a vacuum. Can you predict when it will pop?
No.
Can you find a mechanism inside it, a little timer ticking down, a gear slipping that tells it when to pop?
No, there's nothing there.
That's the thing. There is no internal clock. Two uranium atoms can be absolutely identical in every way, down to the quantum state. One decays right now, the other waits 1 billion years.
And there's no reason why the first one went first?
According to standard quantum mechanics, no. It just happened. It is an uncaused event.
That destroys the whole cause and effect pillar of the clockwork universe. If things can happen without a direct cause.
Then the chain is broken. In the classical world, if two things behave differently, there must be a difference in their initial conditions. In the quantum world, identical things can produce different outcomes. That is pure ontological randomness.
Nature is literally rolling dice at the bottom of reality.
That's the picture, yeah.
And this leads us to the wave function. The source explains that the math of quantum mechanics, the Schrödinger equation, is actually deterministic, right? The wave evolves smoothly.
Yes, this is a very subtle but important point. The wave of probability itself, it moves like a clockwork mechanism. You leave it alone, that cloud of maybe spreads out in a perfectly predictable way.
But,
and this is the big but, that wave isn't reality in the classical sense. It's a list of potentials. It's a menu of what might happen.
and then comes the collapse.
The collapse. You have a wave that says electron is 50% likely to be here, 50% likely to be there. Then you look, you measure it, and snap, the wave vanishes, and the electron is here.
And just one of the options becomes real.
Yes. That transition from maybe to definitely appears to be random. It's not governed by the Schrödinger equation. It breaks the rules.
It's irreducible randomness.
And as you can imagine, Albert Einstein absolutely hated this. He despised it.
Which brings us perfectly to segment 3, testing reality. Because Einstein didn't just sit back and take this. He fought back. He was the champion of the clockwork.
He really was. His famous quote is, "God does not play dice with the universe." He couldn't accept that reality was fuzzy at the bottom. He believed there had to be hidden variables.
Hidden variables. That sounds like a conspiracy theory.
In a way, it was. Einstein thought, okay, the electron looks random to us, but that's just because we're missing a piece of information. There's a secret instruction tag attached to the electron that tells it what to do. We just can't read the tag yet.
So he was trying to turn ontological randomness back into epistemic randomness. He was saying, no, we just don't know enough.
Exactly. He wanted to save the clockwork. He wanted to restore the idea that objects have real properties even when we aren't looking.
So for a long time, it was just a philosophical debate.
For a long time, yes. Einstein said, hidden variables. Niels Bohr said, nope, it's real randomness. It was a stalemate. Just two geniuses arguing in a room.
Until 1964. Enter John Bell.
John Bell is the unsung hero of this entire story. He was a physicist who decided to stop the arguing and start testing. He came up with a way to settle the bet. He derived a mathematical formula, Bell's inequality.
How do we explain this simply? Because the math is famously tricky.
Okay, let's try. Imagine we have two particles that are entangled. They're linked. If one is spin up, the other must be spin down. They are a matching set, like a pair of gloves, left and right.
Got it. So I put one glove in a box and send it to New York. I send the other box to Tokyo.
Right. Einstein would say, look, they were a left glove and a right glove from the moment they were created. We just didn't know which was which until we opened the box in New York. That's the hidden variable view. The reality was fixed from the start.
Makes sense. That feels intuitive.
Quantum mechanics says, no. They were both gray, undefined, fuzzy mixtures of left and right until you opened the box in New York. The moment you looked at one and forced it to be left, the other one in Tokyo instantly decided to be right to match up.
Spooky. But how do you tell the difference?
Yeah.
If I open the box and see a left glove, how do I know if it was always left or if it just became left when I looked?
That's Bell's genius. He showed that if you measure these particles at different angles, not just up, down, but also diagonal, left, right, the statistics change. If they're gloves with fixed instructions, the results will match up a certain percentage of the time. If they are magic coins linked by this spooky action, they will match up more often than classical logic should allow.
So he turned a philosophy debate into a math problem. He put a number on it.
Precisely. He put a limit on how correlated the particles could be if Einstein was right.
And the verdict.
The experiments have been done. Elaine Aspect did a famous one in the 80s, and we've done even better ones since. The Bell inequalities are violated. Every time.
So Einstein was wrong.
The glove scenario, the local hidden variables, is mathematically impossible. Einstein was wrong.
So the instructions just aren't there.
Not local ones, at least. And this leaves us with the trilemma. We have 3 options, and they're all deeply uncomfortable.
Okay, lay them on me.
Option 1. The universe is not deterministic. The randomness is real. God plays dice.
Okay.
Option 2. The universe is non-local. This means particles can instantly communicate across the universe, faster than light, breaking relativity. This is the spooky action at a distance.
Which Einstein hated.
Hated it. And option 3, superdeterminism.
Superdeterminism. I love the sound of that, but what does it mean?
This is the idea that everything is conspiratorial. The universe knew you were going to measure the particle, so it rigged the particle and your brain and the measurement device perfectly to make it look like quantum mechanics was true, even though it's all deterministic underneath.
That sounds paranoid. It's like saying dinosaur fossils were put in the ground just to test our faith.
It is. It makes doing science impossible because you can't trust your own experiments. It means the universe is actively gaslighting us.
So most physicists reject that.
Most physicists reject option 3. They also reject option 2 because breaking the speed of light is a huge no-no in physics. It's the law.
So we are left with option 1, indeterminism. The universe is random at its core. The clockwork is smashed.
It seems so. The bottom layer of reality is a fuzzy mess of probabilities, but just when you think the story is over, a new challenger approaches.
Segment 4, the block universe. Just as quantum mechanics was killing determinism, Einstein's other theory, relativity, was building a fortress for it.
This is the great irony of 20th century physics. Einstein might have lost the quantum battle, but he won the gravity battle. Quantum mechanics says everything is fuzzy and random. General relativity says everything is a solid 4D geometric block.
Let's visualize this, the block universe. This is one of those concepts that once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right. Imagine a loaf of bread, a really, really long loaf. This loaf represents all of space-time. One end is the Big Bang. The other end is the heat death of the universe.
And we are just slices in the loaf. Is that the idea?
Exactly. In our day-to-day life, we feel like we are moving through time. We think the past is gone, it's dissolved. We think the present is the only thing that is real. And we think the future hasn't happened yet. It's a void waiting to be filled.
You think the future is being created moment by moment.
But relativity says no.
No.
Relativity says that is an illusion. In the block universe, the future exists just as much as the past does. It's there, down the loaf, just waiting for us to experience it.
I like the landscape analogy the source uses. Time is a landscape. Just because I'm in the valley and I can't see the mountain yet, doesn't mean the mountain isn't there.
Exactly.
It's sitting there, solid, waiting for me to walk to it.
That's it. You are traveling to the future. You aren't making the future. And the reason we have to accept this comes from special relativity and the relativity of simultaneity.
This is the now illusion.
Right. There is no universal now. If you and I are moving at different speeds, say I'm on a spaceship and you're on Earth, we will disagree on what now is. My now might slice into what you consider the future.
So if my now includes an event that is in your future, then your future must already exist. It has to be real for me to see it.
Precisely. You can't see something that doesn't exist. If different observers slice the loaf of space-time at different angles, then the whole loaf must exist at once. Past, present, future, it's all one frozen 4D sculpture. We call it eternalism.
So if the block universe is true, the script is written. Not because of cause and effect necessarily, but because the whole movie reel is already in the can. We're just watching it play.
It implies a static existence. Determinism isn't about one ball hitting another. It's about the fact that the future is already a location on the map. Your death, your grandkids, the end of the world, they are all coordinate points in space-time that are just as real as the chair you're sitting in right now.
So we have a cage match. Quantum mechanics says the future is open and random. Relativity says the future is already there.
And we still don't have a theory of everything to unite them. This is the biggest open wound in physics. We have two best theories, and they contradict each other on the nature of time itself.
Okay, but let's step back from the cutting edge for a second. Segment 5. Let's assume the universe is a clockwork machine. Let's just go back to Newton for a moment. Even if it is deterministic, could we ever actually predict it?
This is where we hit the middle ground, and this is chaos theory.
I love this stuff. The butterfly effect.
Everyone knows the pop culture version. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and it causes a tornado in Texas.
But what does that actually mean for physics? It's not really about insects controlling the weather.
No, not at all. It refers to sensitive dependence on initial conditions. In a chaotic system like the weather or a double pendulum, the equations are fully deterministic. There's no magic. But if you change the starting number by a tiny, tiny amount...
Like if I round off the temperature from 75.0000001 to just 75?
Exactly. That tiny error grows. It doubles and doubles and doubles. Exponentially. Within a few weeks, your weather prediction is totally, completely wrong.
So even if the universe is deterministic, we as finite humans can never predict it.
Right. This is what we call deterministic chaos. The future is fixed, but it is locked behind a wall of complexity we can never climb. Laplace's demon could predict it because it has infinite precision. But we don't.
The source mentions Stephen Wolfram here, and this concept of computational irreducibility. I found this fascinating because it views the universe as a giant computer.
It's a great concept. Wolfram argues that for complex systems, there is no shortcut formula. You can't just plug in time equals 100 years and get the answer. The only way to know what happens is to run the simulation.
You have to live through it to see the ending.
Exactly. The computation is the reality. The universe is computing its own future as fast as it can. And we can't build a computer that's faster than the universe to jump ahead, because that computer would have to be bigger than the universe itself.
So what we have is practical indeterminism. Even if we are robots that can never read our own code. The future is a surprise, effectively.
Which brings us back to that feeling of free will. Maybe unpredictable is good enough for us. If you can't predict your own choice, isn't that effectively free?
But wait, we still have that quantum problem. Chaos explains why weather is hard to predict, but it doesn't explain the radioactive atom popping for no reason. Chaos is just complicated order. Quantum is actual randomness.
True. Chaos is classical. Quantum is something else entirely.
Unless we try to fix quantum mechanics. Segment 6, the multiverse loophole.
Ah, yes. The many worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett back in the 1950s.
This is the theory that says, hey, remember that wave function, the one that describes all the possibilities? What if it never collapses?
That's the core idea. We see the electron here or there. We assume the other option just disappeared. Everett said, no, the math doesn't say it disappears. The math says both happen.
So the coin lands heads and tails.
Yes, but they happen in different branches of reality. The universe splits. In one branch, you see heads. In the other branch, a copy of you sees tails.
This sounds like science fiction. I mean, it sounds like a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the experts take this very seriously.
It's actually one of the most popular interpretations among theoretical physicists. And do you know why? Because it preserves determinism.
How? It seems like maximum chaos, infinite universes.
No, look at it from the outside. If there's no random selection, if everything happens, then there is no dice rolling. The evolution of the multiverse is perfectly clockwork. The randomness is just an illusion of your perspective.
Because I'm stuck in one branch.
Right. You feel like, wow, it landed heads. What are the odds? But to a bird's eye view of the multiverse, it landed heads and it landed tails. It's a 100% certainty. It removes the collapse and saves the math.
So in the multiverse, the script is written, but it's a script that includes every possible plot twist simultaneously.
It's a choose-your-own-adventure book where you read every single page at the same time.
But there are criticisms, right? The source mentions something called the measure problem.
Yes. If everything happens, how do we make sense of probability? If I say there's a 10% chance of rain, but in the multiverse it rains in some worlds and doesn't in others, what does 10% even mean?
Does it rain in 10% of the universes?
But how do you count infinite universes? It gets very messy.
Very messy.
And it's not parsimonious. You know, Occam's razor says keep it simple. Inventing infinite universes to avoid a little randomness seems extravagant. It's a heavy price to pay just to save determinism.
Okay, we've covered a lot of physics. We've smashed the clock, rebuilt it as a block, hidden it in chaos, and then shattered it into a multiverse. But now I want to ask the question everyone is actually thinking about. Segment 7. The meaning of it all. Free will. Morality. If I am just a collection of atoms, and atoms follow laws, whether they're random or determined, am I responsible for my choices?
This is where the physics really hits the pavement. Let's look at the compatibilist view first. This is the view held by many philosophers and even some physicists.
Compatibilism. That sounds like a compromise.
It is. It says, look, you are made of atoms. Those atoms follow laws. Your brain is a physical machine. Determinism might be true, but you are still free.
How does that work? That sounds like a complete contradiction.
They redefine freedom. They say freedom isn't about being uncaused. It's about being uncoerced.
Okay, so if I chose the sandwich because I wanted a sandwich, I'm free. even if my wanting was determined by my neurons.
Exactly. As long as no one held a gun to your head, you acted according to your desires. That is freedom. The fact that your desires were programmed by genetics and the Big Bang doesn't matter. It's still your desire. Schopenhauer had a great quote on this. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills.
I don't know, it feels like a bit of a cop-out, honestly. It's like saying a puppet is free as long as it loves its strings.
That is exactly the criticism of the libertarian free will camp. They argue that for freedom to be real, you need a break in the chain. You need to be able to have done otherwise. You need to be an uncaused cause.
And this is where people look to quantum mechanics for hope. They say, look, the atoms are random. My brain is made of atoms. Therefore, I am not determined.
It's a tempting escape hatch, isn't it? My free will hides in the quantum gap. But does it work?
The expert insight here is brutal.
It is. Think about it. If your choice was determined by a quantum die roll in your synapse, is that you?
No, that's just a glitch.
Exactly. Randomness is not freedom. I mean, if I control your arm with a remote, you aren't free. If your arm twitches because of a random spasm, you also aren't free. Freedom requires agency, control, intent. Randomness is just chaos.
So quantum mechanics might save us from fate, but it just lands us in chaos. Neither one feels like will.
Which leads us to the hard determinists. They just bite the bullet. They say free will is an illusion. Full stop.
But they still say we should put criminals in jail.
Yes, but for pragmatic reasons. Not because the criminal is evil, but because the machine is broken and needs to be quarantined or fixed. It's about social utility deterrence and rehabilitation, not moral blame. You don't punish a car for breaking down, but you might take it off the road so it doesn't hurt anyone.
That sounds incredibly cold. It feels robotic.
It is clinical. But there are studies, the source mentions this, that show this belief has real-world consequences.
The psychological impact.
When people are told that determinism is true, that they have no free will, they tend to behave worse. They cheat more on tests. They're more aggressive.
Really? So the belief itself changes the behavior. That's wild.
Yes. It seems that believing you are an agent makes you act more responsibly. If you think you're just a passenger, you stop trying to steer. You succumb to fatalism.
That is fascinating. So even if physics says we are machines, we might need to believe we aren't just to function as a society.
It's the noble lie, perhaps. Or maybe the fact that we can reflect on this shows we have some high-level control that physics hasn't fully explained yet. Maybe consciousness is an emergent property that somehow rides the wave of causality.
So we're coming to the end of our journey. Segment 8. We have to talk about the arrow of time. Why are we moving forward into this unknown future anyway?
This connects right back to the beginning. The Big Bang. The universe started in a state of incredibly low entropy, highly ordered.
Like a fresh deck of cards perfectly sorted.
And for 13.8 billion years, we have just been shuffling the deck. Entropy is increasing. That increases the arrow of time. We remember the past because it had lower entropy. We can't remember the future because it has higher entropy.
And eventually?
Eventually, heat, death, maximum entropy. The cards are fully shuffled. There's no more energy to do anything. The clock stops.
But the source mentions a wild possibility called eternal recurrence.
Right. If the universe waits long enough in that high entropy state, quantum fluctuations might, just by sheer chance, reassemble a low entropy state, a new Big Bang.
And if the universe is finite, eventually it might reassemble us.
It's possible. Since there are only a finite number of ways to arrange atoms, if time is infinite, this conversation happens again.
And again.
And again.
And again. We might be having this exact conversation again in 10 to the power of 100 years.
It's dizzying. It makes you value the now a little differently, doesn't it?
It really does. So let's wrap this up. Where do we stand today? What is the consensus?
If you poll the physics department, the consensus, I think, leans toward probabilistic. Quantum mechanics is our best, most tested theory, and it just screams randomness.
The clockwork is broken.
It is. The universe is not a machine. It's something fuzzier. However, we have to remember the block universe. We still don't know how to fit the fuzzy atom into the frozen space-time.
We're missing the theory of quantum gravity.
Exactly. Until we have that, we are looking at two different maps that don't quite overlap.
So the final synthesis is, we live in a world that looks deterministic at the human scale, billiard balls work, is fundamentally random at the bottom, atoms pop, and all of this plays out on a stage of space-time that might already exist.
That's a beautiful summary. And I think the takeaway is that the binary clockwork versus chaos might be the problem.
Maybe.
We keep asking, is it order or randomness? But nature seems to be building order out of randomness. Life, Consciousness, complexity, they all emerge from the chaos. Reality might be something more subtle that we just don't have the math for yet.
I love that. It keeps the mystery alive.
Always.
Okay, we're going to leave you with one final provocative thought. This is what the source calls meta-level indeterminism.
This is the one that keeps me up at night.
We spent this whole hour asking if the events inside the universe are determined. But ask yourself this. Are the laws themselves determined?
Could the speed of light have been different? Could the charge of an electron have been just a little bit different?
If the laws could have been different,
Yeah.
if the settings of the universe were a roll of the dice, then at the deepest level, everything, us, the stars, the laws of physics, is just a happy accident, a product of ultimate chance.
And if that's true, then randomness isn't just a glitch in the system, it's the creator.
On that note,
Yeah.
so go enjoy your lunch, choose the sandwich, or don't. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Bye, everyone.